My name is Patrick Smith. I'm the safety manager for Smiley. Today we're going to be talking about man baskets, how to set up the crane, how to set up and how to use a man basket. First thing you want to do as an operator, you want to make sure you do an inspection, make sure all of your pins and keepers are in place if they are required. Make sure your ground's solid, make sure all your pads are in place, your keepers are in place, everything's solid and stable. Tires are off the ground, the crane is set up the way it's supposed to be. Make sure that all your decals are there that are necessary. With power lines hoisting with a man basket, you cannot be within 20 feet of a power line if it's up to 350,000 volts. You cannot be within 50 feet of a power line if it's over 350,000 volts. There are no exceptions. You can't use the charts or any other devices like you can if you're not dealing with personnel. So as you can see here, the level is off and we're gonna have to re-level it once we start the crane. Okay, your crane has to be level when it's set up within 1% of level, which is 0.57 degrees. Okay, the LMI needs to be working because in this particular case, this is where your boom angle indicator is. Your boom angle indicator has to be visible to the operator at all times while you're using a man basket. Now the operator is going to be testing the anti-tube block to make sure it works, because again, the anti-tube block has to work if you're hoisting personnel. As you can see that it kicked out, none of his functions are working. Now he's bringing it down so that he can check the latch, make sure the hook latch is working, because the hook latch has to be able to be locked and closed at all times while you're hoisting personnel. As you can see, the operator is testing the hook latch, make sure that it's self-closing, that it stays closed. So first thing you want to inspect is with your slings. Make sure all your slings go to one master link or shackle. All of the eyes have thimbled eyes. As you can see, they're all reinforced. The shackles have to be nut, bolt, and cotter pin type or screw pin anchor shackles with the screw pin secured so that it cannot back out. You also want to make sure that you inspect the tags, and tags are the capacity that you need for the weight of the basket and the personnel. As part of your inspection, you also want to make sure that your placards are there and they're legible, that you can see exactly how much the basket weighs, what the maximum capacity of the basket is. Your data plate, your weight should also have a data plate on it that shows what your total weight is. Make sure your slings are not twisted, that everything's laying straight, and that your door opens inward, not outward, and that it is secured so that it cannot open. You want to make sure that your manual is inside the basket. As a lift director, you're going to make sure, crane operator, you're going to make sure that you have a pre-lift meeting where you discuss everything, what the plan is with everybody that's involved. So we'll be the crane operator, myself, the lift director if there's one, and the person that's going to be in the basket, or people, along with any signal people, anybody else that needs to be there, okay? So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go over and discuss what we have. First off, we have a lift plan. Our crane's capacity with a 72-foot boom with a maximum radius of 60 feet. Our gross capacity of the crane is 4,100 pounds. Because we are hoisting personnel, we automatically cut that in half. So our gross load cannot exceed that. So 4,100, half of that is gonna be 2,050, which is what we've written down as our capacity for the lift. We have an 800-pound basket with people in it, maxing everything out. We have 1,000-pound block that we have to account for and 100 pounds of rigging. Added up is 1,900 pounds. So to total, we're gonna be at 92% of our 50% of the capacity. Okay, we went ahead and calculated that off that 50, not off the 41, because we are permanently reducing the capacity for the time where we're making the lift. Slings are 5/8 and they're 8 foot long. We've checked to make sure. Prior to this, we already did the inspection on this, made sure that everything's operating correctly. We follow our rigging plan that's in our packet. Have the crane position set up, the mats are correct, the winds are acceptable. Wind speeds to stop a personnel lift are 20 miles an hour at the basket, sustained or gust. So if the wind blows once in a breeze and it's 20 miles an hour, it stops the lift. You cannot start, you can't finish. So if it starts blowing up there, let us know. We'll bring you back down and we're done. Tagging lines are attached if needed. Specified communications are in place, so we're going to be using hand signals to make sure that you signal the operator because you can see him. You don't need to rely on anybody else. We're going to keep you in sight at all times. The hook's going to be locked, everything's been checked, and we are having our pre-lift meeting now to discuss everything we're going to be doing. You're going to be going to 5 different locations. We're getting ready to do, as soon as we get done with this pre-lift meeting, we're going to do the trial lift, so we'll have it on the weight. We're going to go to each of the locations. We're going to hold it for a total of 5 minutes. That we do the proof test at the same time so that you're aware the basket's going to hold. Once that's done, we're going to re-inspect the basket and make sure everything's good. The last step will be once you get your harness on, you get in the basket, we'll raise it up just a little bit, make sure that it's stable and everything's centered and balanced, that nothing's moved with you in the basket. This is gonna be our last step before we actually fly you up to the jobs. Once you're in the basket, he will not be leaving the controls, so just so you know. And then we also have our, and if anybody wants, you can look at the chart, 72-foot boom at a 60-foot radius. We have a 4,100-pound capacity, 360 degrees. We cut that in half, so we are not going to be exceeding that. We have our checklist, basically go over this just to make sure that we are having the pre-lift meeting, that we are discussing everything we're going to be doing. Goes down, follow through with the general requirements, what OSHA requires as far as how the lift has to be set up, all the questions. The fact the crane is level. We did verify that the crane is level, has to be level within 1% of level. Again, that is half a degree, so we want to make sure that that's set. Derate the crane, which we just did, and we talked about how we cut the capacity in half. We also did check this morning, make sure that the anti-2 block's working before we actually started as part of our pre-shift inspection. If it doesn't work, if the latch doesn't work, if there's any deficiencies in the crane, we cannot make this lift. The gate's going to open inward. The basket has the rated capacity on it and does have an annual inspection on it. All the slings do have thimbled eyes, and the shackles are in the type that they will not back off or come out, being that those are nut bolt cotter pin style. We've done the visual inspection. We're going to do the trial lift. We're going to make sure that as soon as the trial lift is done, before you get in the basket, he's going to come over, pull the counterweight or the pins out of the weight. He'll pick it up, set it down so you can actually get in the basket from the ground, not stepping up on top of the weight. Now, the next thing we're going to do is going to be the trial lift and proof test. You can do these together or simultaneously. The proof test is the first thing we're going to start with. It has to be 125% of the basket's capacity. So what we're going to have the operator do is he'll raise it up, he'll lower it down quickly, come to a stop, make sure that everything holds, and then he will proceed to fly to each of 5 locations that he's going to be working from today. This test will take a total of 5 minutes in time, and we will stop at each position for approximately a minute, or at least a minute, so that we can get that 5-minute test period to all 5 locations we have to go to from where they're getting in the basket, come back to the same point to where they're getting out. Then the operator is going to inspect the basket again to make sure there's no deficiencies and that there was no problems within the proof test, and make sure that the pins are pulled for the weight so the weight is released. You want to make sure as an operator that your people are in the basket, that they are wearing fall protection as required, that their hands are inside the basket. They do want to hang on, and you want to come up slowly. All controls are in a slow manner, but we're going to give them hoist slowly as a signal. Make sure all your rigging comes up. Once he's up off the ground, you want to make sure that with the person in the basket that you check it again by a competent person, make sure that everything's good, make sure that the basket is hanging and balanced, that there's no issues, nothing with the way it's hanging. It's one last concern once you have people in to make sure that it's actually sitting properly. Once you have the basket, once there's a person in this basket, the operator does not leave the seat of that crane. He has to stay at the controls the entire time until the lift is done and all the people are out of the basket, because there are no controls in the basket for the person to handle the crane.